Okay, so this is actually our presentation of the how the display will be showed on the LED tags that the doctor will be wearing. So here you see that whenever there's a request, the actual display will be shown on where the doctor should go, and as well as the ability for him to press either the two buttons here. So the button at the top is to accept, whereas the bottom at the bottom is to reject. So here is sort of a simple test figure, which is by default what would normally work as in a system level design is the Bluetooth will get the Edison will get a file from the central server, and then this file will be in the format of a text file. So in my case, because we don't actually have the Bluetooth connection, this is just simply to demo the I/O output on the actual LEDs for the doctor, and then the ability for him to or her to accept or respond, and then how that will be interpreted by the responding RF node. So here what I'm simply going to do is I'm actually going to pretty much manually generate a file. So in this case, I'm actually generating a file with the name of request doctor, and I just simply put in a room number, arbitrary room number, because this is fictitious. So let's say I put room number 17 in a file called request doctor.txt. So as you can see now, what's on the screen of the LED, you see that there's a request and then there's a room number with a response saying it's pending, because obviously the doctor hasn't requested anything. So now if I could actually, let's say the doctor gets another response, let's say it's room 85, by doing that you actually see the room number change to 85. So in this case, the doctor now has a response. If you actually look into this directory, you see that the request doctor.txt file, and if you actually cat into it, you would actually see the number obviously 85, which represents what you saw on the LED display. So what you see on actually the LED display. So from this, there is the background program which is running and actually is waiting for an interrupt to occur by the doctor either pressing the first or second button. So in this case, let's say we press the top button, which refers to accept, and here you see that there's a request response in the displaying on the screen, and this actually correlates to one thing. So if we actually go back to the terminal, you see actually previously there was only one file, which was a request doctor, but by pressing that button, another file is actually created, which is called the response doctor.txt file. In a system level design, what this file will be used is this file will actually be grabbed by the actual RF nodes from the fixed node locations, and then its actual response will correspond to either being accepted or rejected. And for our encoding purposes, it's actually very simple. A 1 represents an accept, and a 0 and a 2 represents a reject. So if you actually look inside this file, you actually see a value of 1 because I pressed accept. Now one thing to know is that this works all well and stuff, and once the response is finished, then what ends up happening is these two files will get removed because there's no longer a request. So if I was to actually remove these two text files, you end up seeing that the display on the LED also disappears, because now pretty much the request has been completed and there's no longer any pending requests. But one issue that brings up is that what if by accident a physician or a doctor actually presses one of these keys prior to getting a request? You don't actually want sort of prior knowledge or stored knowledge of another response that was not related to this response. So let's for example just randomly press any of these keys, either the accept or response key, and then in reality you shouldn't see any file being generated, and then which will cause issues. So if we actually look inside the folder, you still see that there's no files being generated, even though I'm actually pressing on the keys. So if we again have another request, let's go back here and then we could change another room number, let's say to 12. You clearly see that again, you see the request of room 12 and the response goes back to pending, which is correct because they should not have any prior knowledge of what was previously pressed. And in this case, let's say I press the button, which would refer to reject, and you see the reject button appear there. And also, if we go back to the root directory of the current test vectors, you see also a response file is generated at the same time, and if we look inside the response file, you see a value of 2, which corresponds to what I explained of the doctor rejecting the request. And this will be again grabbed by the central server and processed as needed.